Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Flame podcast. I am Matthias Nordvig, and I am, as always, joined by
Amina Otto.
yes, and we are back with another episode about Yule traditions, Christmas stuff in general, and last time we talked about rituals and pre-Christian stuff and carryover from pre-Christian stuff to Christianity and what the sagas say about what quote unquote Vikings did for Yule. We deconstructed a lot of it, probably disappointed a whole lot of people. And then we got into didn't we take it to some like far corner of Old Norse literature
Yeah,
at some
we
point?
got way off piste with it, but we had a lot of fun. We got into a few of the lesser known tales. I think we covered some Tacitus, we covered some Saxo, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
There's some of that too, yeah. Yeah, so this time, because we're still on the subject of Yule, we thought we would talk a little bit more about like spirits, you know, spirits that interact with people or people interact with during Yule. And we're of course going to get into, we're gonna make people disappointed about Krampus. We're gonna make people disappointed about Santa.
Yeah. We are
And
here to disappoint, and
yes,
we promise to deliver that disappointment.
yes,
And if you're
you are welcome.
disappointed, then we succeeded.
Okay, so Amina, do you wanna start off with the campus tradition? Maybe just tell our listeners what is it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So Krampus is basically the evil accompaniment to Saint Nick or Saint Nicholas, who is kind of the precursor to this Father Christmas Santa Claus figure that we see in modern day. So Krampus is this kind of satyr, fawn, upright, bipedal goat demon thing. Looks an awful lot like Baphomet.
Hmm.
And he runs around with a massive sack on his back and he steals children that are naughty. So
Hmm.
you either get gifts from Saint Nick or you get taken or abused by Krampus. Sometimes he just comes and beats you. Sometimes he puts you in his sack and steals you away. But he's bad news.
Hmm.
And this tradition, there isn't much continuity for it, but it's thought to have been evolved from possibly pre-Christian traditions, but it didn't really see much attention until about the 19th, early 20th centuries. And then in
Hmm.
later decades, in more recent decades, it's kind of enjoyed a bit of a revival with the reintroduction of traditions such as the Campuslaufen or the
Hmm.
Campus Run in places like Germany and Austria,
Hmm.
which is kind of where it originated. It's sort of Central European, but it has echoes in other traditions as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can say a couple of things about how it
yeah.
relates to pre-Christian traditions,
Yes.
because that is not like a straight line from
No,
that
it's not.
like
It's very wiggly.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
um, yeah. So we see that the campus tradition, as you say, primarily in the Alp region
Mhm.
in southern Germany and in Austria, but also up along the Rhine a little bit, and all the way to the Netherlands, where we have a, in my opinion, pretty fucked up version of that tradition, where the guy who accompanies Santa is a dude in blackface. I don't know what's going on in the Netherlands, guys, but maybe we should chill on that one at this point.
Uh, yeah.
And now the entire Netherlands are gonna have us on their shit list.
Be like, oh, it's he's covered in coal. He's covered in ash. It's not blackface.
We are not racist. Yes,
We're
you
not
are.
racist,
Anyway,
guys.
so um barring that situation right there, the original Campus figure seems to evolve from the same folk traditions as Baphomet in like the satanic myth, right? And let's keep that in mind. It's a satanic myth. Oh, do you have Baphomet on
I
your
do. I'm wearing my
Nice.
Baphomet Christmas sweater. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can see it
Oh
properly.
yeah, I can see it a little bit.
He's
Um,
there he is.
oh, there he is. Yeah, very cool, very cool. Anybody
Yeah.
who's watching us on YouTube can see Amina showing off her cool Baphomet Christmas shirt. Um, Yeah, so it comes from that same tradition, and that is a southeastern French, northern Italian, southern German tradition that probably has roots in, the pre-Christian pawn faun
Yeah.
kind of figure.
Satyr, Pan,
The satyr,
Fauna,
yeah. The satyr in
Saturnalia, Saturnalia.
yes, in the Roman traditions prior to the conversion, the satyr is this half man, half goat kind of figure who's running around having a lot of fun with naked nymphs
Mhm.
in the woods. Um, and what we do see after, like, actually several centuries after the conversion to Christianity in the Mediterranean is that there are still traditions surrounding this idea. We got complaints from northern Spain in the 10th century and from Italy in the 11th century and from France around the same time and southern Germany. Complaints among clergy that the general public are running around having these quote unquote wild man rituals where the this they call him Orco or Horco or something like that, and that is actually the name of the pre-Christian Roman deity of the underworld, Orcus.
Mhm.
Um, and this troll figure, they're basically running around with this troll uh, uh, in these carnivals, and it gets very frivolous, and sexy time happens, and that's the kind of stuff that the clergy is not happy about. So there is like a carryover here, definitely. There's a carryover from a pre-Christian tradition that gets to live on in rural communities
Mhm.
or in urban communities where clergy is not clamping down on it. But then from the ninth century, from the 10th century and onwards, they start clamping down on it. Um, and this is where it gets interesting because then that is, of course, what feeds into these folk tales and this folk mythology
Mhm.
around that like diabolical Baphomet figure
Yes.
in that region. And that's where we then get this archetype of like the bad guy,
Mhm.
right, in Christianity, which is the goat man who hangs out in the woods with naked witches,
Mhm.
eating babies
Mhm.
and having frivolous sexual relations and doing all the things that good people are not supposed to do, right? And so once we hit the 15th century and onwards, that's when all of this stuff starts becoming, the
Yeah.
basis for the witch hunts.
It's fodder for Malleus
Mhm.
Maleficarum and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is where we then also see that guy being attached to Saint Nicholas, right?
Mhm.
Or Santa Claus, as like the his evil twin or whatever you want
Mhm.
to call that, right? Like so,
Yeah.
and for those who are not familiar with Santa Claus, I don't know who that would be, but if, if you're not, right, he's based primarily on a story about a martyr in Greece who was very generous, right? That's the story.
Mhm.
Saint Nicolaus would like run around and throw money through people's windows, and
Yeah, just basically hand out, yeah, money,
Mhm.
gifts. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that's the Christian basis for Santa Claus as like a story that has been told in Europe for eons at this point. Um One thing to note is, of course, that in Scandinavia we have Julebukken, the Christmas goat or
Christmas
Yule
goat.
goat. And that seems to be, I mean, there are plenty of people in Scandinavia, scholars and lay people alike, who want to, turn this into some kind of carryover from paganism, but it's really not. Um,
Mm.
what the Julebuk really is a Scandinavian misunderstanding of the whole Santa Krampus thing, right? Because Santa and Krampus go together south of the Scandinavian border.
Mhm.
But in Scandinavia, we were like, oh, okay. So there's just like this demon goat that shows up with presents for people. Okay, cool. That's what we're gonna
Got
do.
it. Hear you loud and clear.
Yes.
Yule equals goats.
Yes,
Got it.
goats. So in Scandinavia we have traditions around like a goat that shows up at Christmas that gives you a present for some reason.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of a very good rundown of why Krampus is tied up in all of this Yuletide mythology when he's really kind of very satanic looking. But that's how he got into the Christmas stuff, through those avenues of association. And it's not necessarily a coincidence that he looks a lot like Baphomet. As Matthias said, they come from the same misinterpretations or vilification process. So, can you tell us a bit about how we see these Krampus traditions observed today, Matthias? They are a lot of fun and
Yeah,
they do get pretty exciting.
right. Like, I mean, you have, especially in Bavaria, in southern Bavaria, you have these really cool traditions. Um, and it's actually in those communities down there, it's not just for the Christmas time. You have people dressing up in these people who are into this stuff will probably have seen, videos or pictures of it on Google, right? Like these big furry weird monster costumes, right?
Mhm.
And they carry bells around. Um, and you have these processions that happen in the villages around, and that's the Campusläufen, right?
Yeah.
The campus run. Um, uh, what is it? The 5th of December. So
Mhm.
coming up in a
Yeah.
couple of days as we're recording now.
We're recording on the 3rd, so the day after tomorrow is
Hmm.
Krampusnacht.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so but you also have them at other times. They break them out for other occasions in southern Germany too, at other times of the year. But yeah, I mean, so the whole thing is a little like Halloween, I guess. Like you're running around creating mischief and
Mhm.
being silly and funny. And I think I mentioned in an earlier episode on this podcast that sometimes it can also go, it's like pretty far in all of
Yeah.
that. And the guy that nobody likes in the house, his barn ends up getting burnt down. Little things like that.
Yeah, just,
Yeah,
casual arson,
right.
theft, vandalism.
Vandalism.
It's
And
like
this
a mini purge.
Yes, it's a mini
Yeah.
purge, right? And this is where this tradition mirrors what we see in Scandinavian folk tales too, where we have
Yes.
all of these like trolls and spirits that come and invade the farm
Mhm.
at like Christmas night or in
Mhm.
some other capacity around Christmas time.
Yeah, it's closely related to my favorite topic, the wild hunt.
Right.
And well, I'm one of the names for it in Scandinavian tradition is the Yule ride
Hmm.
or Julereihe. So
Hmm.
we get this, and that's not a coincidence. It is kind of a time of the other world coming into our world and the uncultivated coming into the cultivated and the outside coming into the inside and kind of all of the chaos that happens when the two meet.
Hmm.
So we have lots of that in British tradition as well. In Wales, we have Mari Llwyd, who's this fantastic horse skull with baubles for eyes, who's hung about with ribbons and bells, hung on a pole. And the person holding her is draped in a sheet, and she goes around with this retinue of all of these other people dressed up in costumes. And this goes back to a lot of British mumming traditions. And like kind of it has this very carnival-esque feel and this procession. And they'll go up to various doors and they'll knock, and Mari Llwyd, the horse skull with all the ribbons and baubles, has a song battle or a riddle battle, not unlike the flighting that we see in Old Norse tradition, with the homeowner. And if Mari Llwyd wins, then the homeowner has to give them beer to the whole company. If the homeowner wins, then Mari Llwyd has to go on with her company to the next house. So again, this very like invasive, insistent kind of mischief-making spirit, and this idea of procession and costuming is pretty widespread. It's not just in this Krampus tradition, but they're definitely related.
And also oral poetry. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like, literally, this is to create essentially a culture of poetry in a whole
Mhm.
community. I
Yeah,
think that's pretty cool, actually.
it's really cool.
Yeah, we've lost our poetic traditions, people. We need to bring them back.
We do need to bring them back.
Yeah.
It's fun. There are a few Mary Lloyd songs that you can find, but they're it's not what it used to be. There are some fun riddles that you can kind of scrounge up if you go through some of the 18th and 19th century Welsh folklore, but it's enjoying a revival right now. So Mary Lloyd is coming back, and hopefully the poetry and the traditions will come back with her.
Nice. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that. We need that. Like we need the return of these traditions all over. And
Yeah.
yeah, I wish more people would do that. Are there other weird traditions in the British Isles and Ireland that you can talk
Well,
about?
I think we talked about wassailing last time, where
Yeah.
you go and you sing to the fields. So that has kind of turned into what we recognize today as Christmas caroling, where you
Hmm.
just show up at people's houses and you sing them songs in a big group. That is very much tied to this tradition. And that's still pretty strong today. It's, again, not as much as it was in, say, like Victorian or Edwardian England, but it hasn't died out. And that's still a very recognized tradition. There's still a lot of, I guess, the pantomime or pantos, Christmas pantos are a big thing in the
Mm.
British Isles now. In terms of weird older traditions, I think wassailing and Mary Lloyd are some of the best attested, but we covered a lot of them on our last episode talking about this, like tree dressing or bringing greenery into the house, kind of
Mm.
putting your
Yeah.
fields to rest in preparation for the coming spring.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get that question a lot. Like this, what did people decorate their houses with during Yule and that kind of stuff in like the Viking Age? And it's, you know, just to put it out blanket statement, we don't know.
Yeah, we really don't know. Some of the things that come up in the British Isles are things like holly and evergreen swags.
Hmm.
I'm
I
trying to
mean,
think
it
of
would make sense, I think.
juniper.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It would make sense to bring plants inside. I could see people do that in the Viking Age too. In
Yeah.
pre-Christian era, I could see people bringing in fir and pine
Yeah.
and I don't know, heather might be a thing, in certain places in Scandinavia, Iceland for sure.
Yeah.
If you can find it underneath the snow. But aside, like, I mean, this is of course all guesswork. We don't actually know
Yeah.
if people did something like that, and if that was like relevant then in that tradition. Uh, what we do know, of course, is that people did adorn their houses, at least if they had enough resources to do so, right? They
Mhm.
did. We have like carved pillars and doors and maybe even some wall boards would also be carved here and there. And then of
Mhm.
course, on the all exterior walls, they would have tapestries, woven tapestries with,
Mhm.
you know, displays of some story typically.
Yeah.
Um, right. So these important narratives that everybody knew or needed to know at least, right? They would be on tapestries, and I don't know. I guess maybe they changed during like for different
Yeah,
seasons
it
or
could be seasonal. I think I really don't know much about adornment in the British Isles or Celtic tradition or Ireland. I know that at the end of the harvest, it is traditional for English farmers to nail a sheaf of the wheat that they just harvested to one of the beams in their barns. And that's a tradition that's even still followed today. I don't know how ancient it is,
Mm,
but it's a kind of decoration of bringing something in from the outside to kind of signify the passage of time. And the longer you have your farm, the more sheaves of wheat you're going to have on your rafters. So that's kind of an
mm.
interesting way of tallying the years that you've been there or that you've been working that land.
And also, tallying essentially uh the harvest itself,
Yeah,
right? Like keeping track of like uh good years, bad years, that kind of stuff,
exactly.
right?
They essentially they are decorative, but they're also very functional, and they serve as almost scientific samples for each year. And you
Hmm.
can kind of compare like how the wheat looks year to year, or how healthy it is, or how good the seed is. So it does serve more than just a decorative purpose, which is really
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. I could see a tradition like that being ancient. Like
Hmm.
it could be
Yeah, it
it could
wouldn't
be from the
surprise
19th
me
century, it could
at
be
all.
from 2000 years ago
Exactly.
or
It's
more,
it's very simple, but it makes a lot of sense also.
Yeah, it does for sure. Yeah. And then, I don't know of a similar tradition in Scandinavia. I mean, there are definitely comparable traditions.
Mhm.
But, one that shows up in the 19th century is to put out a sheaf for Sleipnir.
I've
So,
heard of this. I think
yeah.
that's really sweet.
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar with Sleipnir, that would be Odin's horse, the eight-legged
Mhm.
horse. That is something that people start talking about in the 19th century.
Mm.
And it's definitely scholars who come up with it and popularize it. And I don't know the story behind it exactly. I just know that it's obviously not an ancient tradition.
No.
But it is again, it's tied to the idea of the wild hunt
Yeah. And
and
leaving food out for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Llwyd did right
Yep.
um where the idea is that the whole procession is led by Odin, and so Sleipnir wants to like come by and eat a little bit before he moves on, right? And
Mhm.
that way they perhaps also stay out of your house, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And you kind of appease them. You can even see this kind of tradition echoed in the American households leaving out milk and cookies for Santa Claus. So,
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
like every Yule, we put out a bit of grit and milk for the Nisse.
Hmm.
And there's so many different traditions of leaving some kind of food or the last of the harvest or the first of the harvest for these land spirits
Yeah,
or household
exactly.
spirits. Hmm.
Yeah. And speaking of which, now we have mentioned both the Nisse and Santa again. And so I think there's a couple of things that we could be saying about Santa and the traditions surrounding him. Um, like as a figure, first and foremost, sometimes you hear people claiming that Odin and Santa have something to do with each other. And I'm sorry, guys, gonna have to disappoint everybody who's listening. That is not the case.
We need a like a disappointment button on our sound.
Like burp.
Wah, wah. I'm just going to get a slide whistle.
Yeah, or a chorus that goes "aw."
Exactly. So if you're listening, please join us in a collective aw.
Aw. Yeah, so there's no discernible overlap between Santa and Odin. As I mentioned before, the original Santa is a Greek bishop or martyr or whatever we call him in the Christian tradition.
Yeah.
Um, and um, and he spreads northwards with Christian religion. However, there are other things that people talk about in terms of like um interesting overlap and maybe even loans from northern traditions. And I've actually seen both National Geographic and The Atlantic propagating these stories, and this
Mm.
is where it gets problematic. Okay, so we know that Santa rides a sleigh with reindeer, and this to a lot of people today has become sort of like a urban legend that this is taken from the Sami in northern Scandinavia, Sami culture, because Sami have sleds that are uh, driven by reindeer, right? So that's a thing. Um, but that is not that likely. The overall claim is actually that Sami shamans, so this is already getting into shaky territory, right? When somebody says Sami shamans, they rarely know what they're talking about, right? Because if you know what you're talking about when it comes to Sami tradition, you would know that it's a Nwadi and not a shaman. Shaman is a very specific thing from a different culture.
Mhm.
Nobody really cares about that. Um, and so the claim has been that some ancient Sami tradition has been that shamans would show up with presents and come through the chimney hole in the lavu, the tents that they have, and then give presents and then leave again. And it has something to do with them also being uh, uh, on mushrooms. And the specific mushroom that people claim that they have been taking is the Amanita muscaria or fly
Ah.
agaric, right? And
Mhm.
this is the key. That's the key. That fucking mushroom is the key. Because
Caused a lot of confusion in our field.
it has, hasn't it? Right? Like, so the reason that this mushroom is the key, and this is also the reason that you can see that this is a bullshit theory, is that the claim that somebody in the north have been taking Amanita muscaria to to get psyched up somehow goes all the way back to the 1600s with the Danish scholar Thomas Bartholin, who writes his thesis on why Danish Odinic warriors are so badass and can kick so much Swedish ass, because that's what it's all about. This is like Danish war propaganda against Swedes, right?
That's- Fuck Sweden.
Yeah, and like on the other side of the Jutlandshavet, the Jutland Sea, which is now known as Kattegat, which is a Dutch name, just for anybody who thinks it's an actual Scandinavian word because they have seen the Vikings. Um, yeah, so it's like on the other side over there in Sweden, we have scholars writing that Sweden is the cradle of civilization and that God speaks Swedish, and
Hmm.
and that the Swedes they built civilization and that Denmark was originally a Swedish penal colony where they sent all the criminals.
Just
So
Swedish Australia.
exactly, Swedish Australia. I like that. So you have like in this period from the actually like from the 1500s and up until the end of the 1700s, you have like this massive propaganda output from Denmark and Sweden about each other, and this is where we find that like stupid mushroom, right, being used as like a basically what Thomas Bartholin says is that he theorizes that um, these descriptions of Odinic berserkers, right? That they what really happened was that they ate some kind of like
Yes.
mushroom that
And
would
they
give
were
them
tripping face when they went into battle, and that's why
right,
they were so fearsome as
right.
warriors.
Yes, and that's what you want, right? Like you want to be tripping balls like that when you're fighting.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah. That's like not gonna inhibit any
No, not at
perception of
all.
reality or anything like that, no. So that's the origin of this, right? That's the origin of that mushroom and its relation to populations in the north. That has then later become sort of like just this watered down myth that, oh, Vikings used to do mushrooms before going to battle so that they would be more psychopathic. And again, no, that is not the drug you want to be on if you are trying to be a psychopath. There are other drugs that are better for that. The Nazis knew
Angel
that.
dust,
This angel
meth,
meth, exactly. That's what the Nazis
alcohol.
used. Alcohol, that's what everybody used in
Yeah.
Europe in the 1600s and 1700s. Um, and so then that becomes like a carryover to like quote unquote Sami shamans. They would take these mushrooms and then go on a trip. And there's like no evidence whatsoever that the Noaidi in Sami traditions ever took any psychedelics. No evidence. And there's like these what we typically associate with like quote unquote shaman customs or traditions are also very different in Sami tradition. Like what we have with other Eurasian Siberian populations when it comes to like shamanic traditions is drum rituals
Mhm.
that involve drumming, dancing. If we go to Inuit in North America and Greenland, what we see is that they're tied down so that their spirit will leave their body, but they can't like
Mhm.
flail or become dangerous to people around them and that kind of stuff, right? With the Evenki and Yukakia, Sacha, Chukchi, and so on, their traditions is a dancing tradition with drums and so
Mhm.
on. There's like a lot of movement in those. But with the Sami drumming and Noaidi, what do you call that? Transcendental ritual, right?
Yeah.
What we see is actually a very sort of composed, or however you want to express that, like sort of physically limited
Mhm.
ritual where the noity will sit and they will drum on the drum with a hammer and look at where different pieces are moving to divine, whatever they're trying to
Mhm.
figure out, right? So that's a very different type of ritual compared to these other ones, right? So you have basically this essentially what is just like the exoticism of like quote unquote shamanic culture. We like we see look at these like Siberian populations and then we transpose some of those things onto the Sami because they are an indigenous population in northern Scandinavia and they're considered quote unquote closer to nature. Basically all of these old
Yeah.
school, prejudices against this
Yeah. And
population.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it sounds like, as with a lot of inaccuracies like this, it's many different older inaccuracies intersecting and kind of coalescing and ossifying into this kind of nugget of
Hmm.
fact, and I say that with scare quotes, huge ones,
Yep.
that then gets perpetuated into popular culture. which makes a
And
lot of
becomes Santa.
and becomes Santa. And yes, in
That's
one
the
of
claim, at
my
least, right?
a
Like
few of
the.
my professors call these things zombie factoids because no matter how
Mm,
many times you try to kill them or disprove them or publish work that kind of beyond question lays them to rest, they always come back
yeah.
because they're cool to think about.
Yeah. Has anybody like tried stabbing them in the brain or blowing them up?
I don't know. I'm sure there is somewhere an antidote out there for zombie factoid disease, but we haven't found it. You get this all the time with stuff about ancient Celts, especially Druids,
Yeah.
and that is fertile ground for these zombie factoids. And
That's
they're
true.
treated similarly to the shamanic traditions or the Noali traditions. So I apologize. There's a very loud vehicle outside my window. But you get kind of these same ideas that any learned old man was running around doing rituals and communing with nature and being closer to nature, and a lot of these same qualities that are ascribed to these shamanic traditions are also kind of ascribed to the druidic traditions, and I don't think
Hmm.
that's any kind of coincidence.
No,
So
it's
I
yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's ever been claimed that Santa is a druid, but we do see a lot of mistletoe in both the texts
That's
on the druids
yeah.
and Christmas.
Right. No,
So, yeah.
I could totally see somebody in a corner claiming that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. It's
yeah.
easy. It's
Right?
easy to do this. I could easily write some kind of post linking druids to Santa Claus
Oh yeah,
through
for sure.
mistletoe or something. Yeah. I won't because it's
Please don't.
wrong, but I could.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, I guess that's sort of like those like compounding zombie facts, as you call
Yep.
them, that then have led to the claim that Santa is somehow like an appropriation of like Sami traditions, which is not the
Yeah.
case either. Santa is, as far as I can see, like the modern Santa, he's fully a product of Coca-Cola in the early 20th
Yeah.
century.
He's a
Yeah.
mascot. He's a
Yeah, he's a mascot.
marketing ploy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for that reason, he is then spread across the world, right? And now in Scandinavia, for instance, he is competing with Llwyd and
Hmm.
with also with the Nisse.
Yeah.
And Amina, do you want to explain to our listeners what the Nisse is? You told me that you put out gröt and stuff for the Nisse.
Yeah, so when I've spent my Yule in Norway, we have decorated the house with these little, you've probably seen them around. I guess you could call them gnomes as well, but in Norway and elsewhere, they're called Nisse. They're these little fellows with these conical hats pulled low over their face, and all you can see is their nose and their hair and their beards and their chubby little bodies. And they're just these little uh, doll representations of these little gnome-like creatures that you can put around the house as decoration. And the Nisse are essentially just household spirits, and they can be helpful usually. They can also be quite mischievous. They can take things away, things can go missing. They're very convenient to blame if things break or go missing around the house. But if you want to keep them happy, you leave them things like grit, which is this really lovely rice porridge that you have with butter and cinnamon sugar. And I eat heaps of it every winter in Norway. And so they like these kind of filling sweet things. Milk is good, butter is good, cream, honey. All these things are good things to leave out for the Nissa. And sometimes they will give you gifts back, or they will keep your house clean, or free from disease, or free from vermin. And they're definitely not the only kinds of household spirits you find in Scandinavian tradition. I know that there's some correlation between Landvættir, which is more the land spirits, and some of the household spirits are more like cultivation spirits. But yeah, so Nissa are just these cute little, usually friendly household guys that are associated with this time of year. Since you are spending a lot more time indoors, you probably want to make friends with your house and the other inhabitants of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the Nisse is kind of the same in Denmark and Norway.
Yeah.
Um, the cousin is the tomte
Mhm.
in Sweden. And then, in Norway and certain places in Denmark, you also have like regional variations. Like uh,
Yeah.
I think in Gudbrandsdalen in Norway, it's like Tuftekallen or something like that. That's what they call him.
Oh.
And he also has like other names in Denmark. The term Hulder, which we know
Mhm.
from Icelandic, Huldefolk, which
Mhm.
means hidden
Hidden people.
people. Yeah, that's also applied to the Nisse in local
Yeah.
traditions in Jutland in Denmark. We got a ton of folk tales about the Nisse from Denmark. Like very, very typically, the stories are about either the Nisse will like terrorize you or he
Yeah.
will help you, right? And it all
Mhm.
comes down to the relationship you keep to him. And
Yes.
this in these folk traditions, these folk tales, they're not centered around the Yule time or Christmas time. They're just like general folk tales, which means that and they're most of them are recorded in the 19th century, which means
Mhm.
that the tradition of this like a house spirit has been in place up until at least in the late 19th century. Um, and like, there are stories like about how, this guy had a good relationship to his Nisse, and this like one time he was over at the neighboring farm and he was playing cards with the farmer there, and then all of a sudden there's like a knock on the window and a voice that tells him to hurry over to the man's farm because there's a fire, right? And then this story goes, and everybody knew that that was his Nisse who helped him out that day, right?
Everybody knows that.
Yes. Um, and so that's like an example of like a helpfulness. Then you have stories about how the cows won't give milk, or the barn
Mhm.
burns down, or
Mhm.
there's rot in the grain, and then for some reason they find out that it's the Nisse that has been mistreated, and therefore, he's doing things to their uh, um, the general production at the farm. Some stories also talk about like seeing the Nisse up, like you
Mhm.
one day the little lad uh, crawled all the way up to the top of the barn where you have all the hay, and then he saw a little gray figure with like these staring eyes and visible teeth sitting there staring at him, and he knew that that was the Nisse, and then he got really scared and ran off. And you never know what's behind a story like that. Like,
Mhm.
is that did he see somebody who had died and gotten mummified up there? Like, you never know what could have happened over the winter time, or right? Or is it just like pure imagination? That's a good question. But
Mhm.
so I think the Nissa, the way that you describe him with like the red pointy conical hat,
Mhm.
all of that stuff, I think he originates in 1870 something
Wow,
in
that's an extremely specific date.
yeah, so I think it's actually 1874 or 73, somewhere around that time, at the Scandinavian Institute in Rome. Like, it's
So we can
very
blame
specific.
the Romans for this
No, no,
again.
no, no. We can
Oh,
blame
okay.
Scandinavians in Italy for it. So if I remember correctly, and I'm riffing a little bit off of like faint memory here,
Mm,
but what happened in the 1870s, like Rome has had a Scandinavian institute for a very long time, right?
Mhm.
Where you would have Scandinavian scholars, um, going and staying there for a period and, teaching or writing or painting or whatever, and then going back home. And if I remember correctly, the story goes that uh, during Christmas of 73 to 74, somewhere around that time, the those the Danes and Norwegians that were there, they were very homesick or something like that, and so they
Oh.
started making paper cuts of Nisse for Christmas, and they designed them exactly like that, and ever since we have had paper cuts like that, like Nisse
Hmm.
paper cuts. That was like a thing. We call them climbing or crawling Nisse. And you can buy them in stores, and you can put them up on your bookshelf and so on. When I was a kid, we had a ton of them. Like I would put them up, and it would be like these small scenes of little Nisse. That was like one is like losing his clog, or something like that, like almost falling off a shelf, or someone else is like eating porridge or that kind of stuff. Like very cute little sceneries,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it comes from back then, and because they were doing that, I think originally they put them up on the Christmas tree,
Mm.
and so that was sort of like the beginning of all of that. I might get the timing wrong, but it's like late 19th century, early 20th century. I'm pretty sure it's the 1870s, but I could
I
be
think,
wrong about
yeah,
that.
late 19th century seems to be when Christmas decorations really took off. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was also part of that wave.
Hmm.
You kind of see the Victorians in England getting really into the decorations and the big banquets and the very seasonal dressings for their houses. So if and they looked to folklore for a
Hmm.
lot of their inspiration for these things. So it wouldn't surprise me if in other regions were experiencing the same kind of, maybe if not accurate revamping, but kind of a harkening back during
Oh
this
yeah.
boom of folklore collection to these traditions and assimilating them into holiday decorations that were then popular.
Yeah, exactly. And with that we also, later on we get these stories about the Nisse, right? So
Mhm.
um both in Scandinavia and Germany you have this like the 24-day calendar for December, right? Where
What?
you're
Advent
counting down.
calendar.
Yeah, we're counting down for the 24th, not the 25th, people, the 24th,
Hmm.
right? Because 25th is just the day that Jesus was born and all that kind of stuff. But the 24th is when you get to eat all the good food.
Hmm.
And that's what we're counting down for. We celebrate Yule often, not
Hmm.
uh, actual Jesus Day on the 25th. And so there are like different ways you do the calendar, right? You can have a like a physical calendar with
Hmm.
24 little doors, one that you open each day. You can have little gifts packages with little gifts on for every day. Um, some people only do it for Sundays.
Mm.
Um, but that's sort of like the more like sort of Christian version of it, because
Yeah.
that's like counting down for the 25th.
Mhm.
Um, but what we also get are stories where you read a story for every day, or um, currently happening on TV in Scandinavia, right? Christmas stories for every day, right? So,
Aw.
yeah, so you have an episode that airs on December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and blah blah blah, all the way down. And this the theme, at least in like the Danish versions, is always, will it ever be Christmas? Like, is Christmas gonna come?
Oh no.
Yeah. And most most of these narratives always include a Nisse, right? It's
Oh.
either like from the perspective of a Nisse, or it's like, human children being aided by a Nisse or
Hmm.
something like that. And a very old story, or older story, and one that was like read to me when I was a kid, is a Norwegian book about this one called Nissepok, which is actually the word puck is another word for Nisse. Um,
Oh, that's really cute.
yeah, so that's like an older traditional word for
Yeah.
Nisse. Um, and that's like a story about this kid who goes and stays with his grandpa
Mhm.
for the month of December. And then it's like, a mystery about like the Nisse that is in Grandpa's house, and like he sees little traces of him here and there. He One night he hears something going on in the living room, and he comes into the living room, and then he see the little Nisse is sailing in a sail ship in a like a bucket of water on the table, and like and then at the very end, spoiler alert to anybody who wants to read the story, on the 24th, the Nissa joins them for the Christmas dinner. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Like it's a whole
That's
tradition
very
around.
wholesome.
Yeah, very wholesome tradition for
Yeah.
sure.
As far as household spirit, land spirit, fairy-ish folk type stories go, that is quite wholesome and
Yeah,
adorable. Are you reading
yeah.
any of these to your kids?
We're doing the physical calendars with
Ooh,
these ones. The ones that I could get were German, so they're typically full of chocolate. So the kids get a little like
best
chocolate for every
kind.
day. Yeah.
That's that those calendars taught me the value of consistency and delayed gratification. So one year, my mother would always give us advent calendars when we were kids, even though we're the farthest thing from Christian.
Mm.
And one year, I found out where she hid them, and I ate all of my chocolates, and then I had no more chocolates until Christmas Day. And all of my brothers all had their chocolates every day, and I had none, and it was the worst December ever. So a chocolate every day
A
for
chocolate.
24 days teaches important lessons.
Yeah, I'm not sure it keeps the doctor away though.
No, but it keeps you going in the winter.
It keeps you
It gives
going in
you
the winter.
something to look forward to.
You need a little bit of extra, energy to trudge through this
Yeah,
snow. Yeah.
exactly.
I think we got about a foot of snow right now.
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
looking out the
We have
window.
nothing. We just have this nasty rain.
Ugh, that sounds
Yeah,
boring.
it's it is
Sounds very
boring.
British though.
It's extremely British, very
Yeah.
Scottish, typical Glaswegian
Mm,
December. It's
yeah.
cold and rainy.
Ugh.
Yep.
Yeah. No, this
But,
is Winter Wonderland. I am expecting Santa Claus to ride past
uh,
me on a
you
red
mean
train with a
a
Coca-Cola bottle at any
shaman
point now.
on mushrooms to come to me?
I wish.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, it's
Well,
actually really coming down now. Like it's not just a flurry, it's a heavy snowfall right now. So,
so envious.
yeah.
I would
Well,
I would
this is the second day of snowing, and we're
oh gosh.
December 3rd. That
Yeah,
is that's not
you're
cool.
on track. You're on track for a very white Christmas.
No, 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 no. So like this is since like, you know, snow season should start in Colorado sometime in between mid-October and mid-November.
Yes.
And we just started getting snow yesterday.
Ah, okay. So this is the first snow then.
This is
Oh,
the
well, that's
first
not.
snow, but the second day of snowing, right? So
Ooh.
we've had basically just dry, a little bit of cold, but not that
Oh
cold
no.
kind of weather up until now. So yeah, they better dump a couple of feet on us. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
hopefully it keeps coming
but
down.
not the 5 to 6 feet that we got, a couple years back
Yeah,
when I was
that was
snowed in
mad.
for a week.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you're up in the mountains, so you
Oh
get
yeah.
really snowed in. Oh,
Yeah, the only way that I could get out was like because the road had gotten plowed, but I mean my driveway is pretty long, so I'm like looking out the window and I see the guy who normally plows our driveway. He comes by and I see him stop, and then he looks at my driveway and then he turns around and he leaves.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he texted me. He's like, I
Good
can't
luck.
move that snow. So I had to do it by
Oh
hand.
man.
I had to
Oh,
move what is it, like 30 to 35 feet long driveway, 5 feet of snow by hand. I'm still mad about that.
clearly. Oh, that's crazy. No, we get nothing like that in Scotland. I think there
Yeah.
used to be more snow, but now it's just we might get a light dusting, a couple centimeters every winter.
And
But we
everybody freaks
definitely
out, right?
everyone in England freaks out.
Uh,
Scotland deals with snow a lot better. We have
oh,
really
okay.
fun names for our snow plows. So if anyone is bored, look up snow plows in Scotland.
Is it like, can you follow them on
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you can follow them.
yeah, that's
They're
so
very
funny.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to Google that. Scottish
Yes,
snowplows.
you
Like,
have to. Scottish snowplows. It's really entertaining. They all have such fun names.
is one of them called Snowplow McSnowflake Face or something like that?
Plowy McPlowface or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Some of them are very creative, and I don't know why none of them are coming to my mind right now. Probably because it's already been such a week and it's already Wednesday, but that's what end of term will do to you.
That's hilarious. I found them.
Oh, read some.
Spreading Mercury,
Yep,
Britney Spears,
yep,
License to Chill,
yep.
Mr. Plow, which is
There
obviously
you
a
go, Mr.
reference
Plow.
to The Simpsons,
Mhm.
Sleetwood Mac, Buzz Ice Clear, You're a Blizzard, Harry. So that's a pun on a Harry Potter book title.
Yeah. Uh,
Hansel and Grit All.
yep.
That is silly.
It's really funny. They're hilarious.
What was it? There was like a science vessel. I think it was a British science vessel that they put it up for the public to name it, and the one that got most votes that wasn't like some kind of ridiculous slur
Mhm.
was Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface. Yes. And ever since then, people have used that formula for naming everything that you're allowed to name.
Right.
It's horrifying. Oh.
People suck.
Oh, I'm going to Wales for a December tattoo convention, cave party thing, and I'm sharing a house with a load of other people going, and we were trying to decide this morning what to call our house group chat, and someone suggested Housey McHouseface. So the tradition is
Oh,
alive and
fuck
well.
off. Yeah, no, that's
No,
the
it's terrible. It's horrible. Naming traditions have really fallen
like
from what
so
they
much
used
else.
to be. Oh, well, I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted the subject, right? Like, so I mean we
Yes.
could perhaps mention that the Nisse and those kind of like smaller, lesser spirits, however you want to call that, right? They seem to have like roots in the elves
Yes, the
and
Alvar and
yeah,
the, as you said, the hidden people, the Hulder.
yeah.
And of course, this is a very strongly echoed tradition in British, Scottish, Welsh, Irish tradition. Plenty of continental stuff as well about fairies, brownies, changelings, sprites, nymphs, dryads, naiads, nook, nixies. That we could
Mhm.
fill, we probably should fill an entire other episode talking about
Oh yeah.
those.
Yeah, we
But
totally
yeah,
will.
this idea of kind of household and land spirits is well attested in
Hmm.
folklore, going and probably well before this, but being recorded in, early modern stuff. That's kind
For
of when
sure.
it
Yeah.
starts flourishing over here.
Yeah.
But you get stories of it earlier than that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, just go to the Italian peninsula, you can see that. This is just one of those things that I mean, I'm grateful for people's interest in Nordic culture because that is my
Hmm.
specialty. But sometimes I'm like, okay, guys, it's fine and all, but you know, people make a little bit of a big deal out of like how magical it is compared to like other traditions. And I'm like, have you guys seen all the little people in Italy? Like and all the different names that they have for them,
Oh,
like
yeah.
there are so many local spirit traditions and stuff like that in the
Hmm.
Italian peninsula. So it's not just a Northern European thing. We just have a very exciting exotic tradition around a lot of it.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's all over, and it's like obviously it's because we human beings we go out there in the world and then we experience spirit in the world. We interact
Hmm.
with it and then we give it a name,
Hmm.
and we've done that everywhere,
Yeah.
not just in the north,
It's
everywhere. So
everywhere.
yeah, I guess with that, we can really just only say glädjelig jul.
Yeah,
Uh,
glädje jul.
and thank you very much
Jul.
for listening, everybody. We will be back in the new year with more fun things.
Mhm.
Speaking of that cave party, I assume that you finally got Sean to commit to an episode
Yes.
sometime in January.
Sean will be joining us in January. He sends his
Wonderful.
apologies very sincerely. He felt terrible about forgetting, but he's very excited
Oh,
to come on and talk about some tattooing traditions.
yes,
So
that will
that's
be
something to look
interesting.
forward to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we will have a episode about Celtic and Germanic tattooing,
Mm.
um, supported by Sean Perry.
Yes,
Um,
I'm sure many of you know him, but for any viewers on YouTube, he did my hands and a few others on my arms, but he's very skilled, really wonderful guy. He's so knowledgeable about these kinds of things, not only tattooing traditions, but also a lot of the stories that surround the kinds of things he's tattooing.
and he's a bard as well. He does
He
sing
is.
and
He's a
play music.
very good singer. Yep. While
Mhm.
he was tattooing one of my hands, he sang me Seal's Kiss from a Rose.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is also a level of multitasking I don't know that I would be able to pull
it's
off.
really impressive. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff for you in the new year, and thank you for joining us. We are looking forward to a really fun festive season,
Hmm.
hopefully full of snow, but not too much snow for Matthias.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
We'll
You
be
have a
fine.
Tacoma. You'll be good.
And
Oh,
a stash of canned food.
yeah, there you go. And two small children to keep you entertained.
Oh shit. I forgot about that. Yeah, no, so thank you everybody to for listening. Have a happy Yule, Merry Christmas, whatever you call it.
Yep. Joyeux
And
Noël.
yes, also in French. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment, repost, share. Follow us on all the social media channels like Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok,
TikTok,
YouTube,
Facebook. Yep, we
Facebook.
do have a Facebook page.
Yes, and also find our Patreon, the Sacred Flame
Mhm.
Podcast on Patreon, and support us because that will enable Amina to eat, and we
Yes,
want
I am a
that.
starving student and I
You
do
are,
like food.
and maybe I can afford a better snow plow or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. You can actually leave your house, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for
Thank
listening,
you.
and we will see you in the next year.
See you soon.